Hello, I'm Charlie with All Star Construction and Pest Management. I'm here with Christine, and we are doing a home inspection and a roof inspection on the property. So we're going to be kind of going through the report in this video, just kind of giving everybody the same information as to what we're discussing. Starting off at the front entry, there is some rot, some of the decking, just different areas. Some of it's been marked. You can see right here that some rot's coming through. Also kind of running across the whole edge of the decking has some rot going into it. There's also some damage back here at some of the blocking, and some other areas are at the railing kind of as you run down. I wouldn't put a lot of faith in some of this rail. It's about ready to kind of give way. So replacement of that would be a really good idea just from a safety standpoint. Maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea if you are going to replace it with some sort of a steel or something that might be able to take a little bit more pressure if a car was to bump into it or something. Pretty basic exterior siding. This is a 3/8 just T111 material. It is nice that it has this covered roof over everything that's going to protect the deck. You can see the only areas where there's any damage is out here. That's kind of running along this edge like we were discussing earlier. There is a section where the girder, this is how it should be seamed. It should have a post underneath the seam right there. Over here on the edge, this used to have a post underneath it, and that has since then been removed, and it looks like it was relocated kind of off to the side. So there's not really a whole lot of structure supporting that section of it. At least it is lapped, in the direction of the cantilever. But still, I would recommend installing maybe a secondary post coming down. It would require installation of a girder underneath there. In regards to the deck, this deck was originally just cantilevered off the structure, and then the roof was added, and it looks like about 2 foot of the deck was actually added at that time. And it does have some rot. You can see where this one here is seamed together. That's at the original cantilevered portion of it. It's got some damage kind of going in between the decking there. It is mostly supported by the cantilever, the joist that's been added and bolted to everything. You'd have to pull it up to try to see if you could just carve that damage out of there. If it's real minimal, I think you could probably get by with just carving it out. If there's structural damage, then you might have to actually tie into the structure to replace it properly. Let's see. So this is a corner where we're having quite a few problems with settling. And you'll notice, I'm going to point it out throughout this video in quite a few areas, kind of upper, lower, exterior, and you'll see the crack at the slab indicating that there's been some movement there. There's also some evidence of movement up top here. You can see where some of the softening is kind of buckled down, and also another crack at the concrete walkway on this edge. It looks like some measures have been taken to prevent drifting soil from sloughing down the hillside. You can see that some shotcrete concrete was added to hold the bank back. I don't know if there's been any settling since then, or if it's settling due to softening or lack of maybe compaction when it was originally installed here. It's really kind of hard to say. You'd have to consult an engineer to get some actual answers on that. There are some voids at some of the drip edge flashing. As we get over here on the side, you can see the softening is kind of hanging down a little bit right there. We're also we don't have any drip edge flashing over there on that corner, and there's not much in the way of flashing over here at the side of the roof line either. So it also looks like the walkway, it has a crack coming across here, and it looks like this seam kind of opens up as we come down the side here, indicating that this has moved. You can also see that kind of further illustrated by the concrete line that was originally right here on the side, and now that's kind of dropped. The downspout also is creating a lot of moisture. It's splashing right here, which is going to saturate that siding and kind of shorten the lifespan of it. The French door, it has a crack at the door casing, and that needs to be sealed. There's also a little bit of a void down between the threshold, and I would recommend sealing all that. There is some evidence of a little bit of moisture intrusion on the carpet. I did pull that up, and you can see a little bit of staining evident, where moisture's been getting inside there. And so, replacing some of these seals, maybe adjusting the door. You'll see a picture that I took from the inside, just kind of illustrating the light coming through, which is where there's an air gap, that just is in need of some adjustment. So this is an addition, and the attic space is inaccessible. It does have a gable vent. There's not much in terms of cross flow ventilation. Wouldn't be a bad idea to add some additional vents up top just to promote proper airflow, but there's no way into it. When you go into the interior here, you'll notice that there's no access, and that wall, the original wall, ended right there, and from the attic space there's no entry into this part of it. So that will also be noted. There's quite a bit of moisture here, and you'll notice the grass is growing, and indicating that, you know, this has been wet for quite a long time. I see that there's a sprinkler head kind of right in the middle of the water right there. I don't know if it's you know, from that sprinkler head. There's also a water line that is buried somewhere out here. There's some other sprinkler heads also, you know, throughout the lawn area. This does have water going to it. So I don't know if possibly there's a leak maybe in between the water line coming through here, or if it's something wrong with the sprinkler that's turning on and turning off. This exterior outlet, we don't have any power to it. It is GFI protected. It's a GFI outlet, but currently it's not resetting and it doesn't have any power. So this little sub area space was previously inaccessible. I grabbed the drill and opened everything up, pulled some screws out so that we don't have to list anything as not inspected. And you can see that we don't have any insulation underneath here. There's quite a bit of wood debris that should come out. You can see like the original patio where the door came out before, and then it was kind of installed over the top of that. But this portion of the structure is a little bit newer than the other portions of it. So where the structure was tied in, there is a difference in the foundation, and it looks like it's actually shifted. Most likely the original foundation is shifted in a little bit. You can see you know, where it was originally poured together. It looks like it's about a ½ an inch, maybe a little bit more, maybe 3/8 of an inch. You know, that it's experienced some movement. There's also you know, a little bit of a gap here now that at least should be sealed up, but that's also something that you'd want to consult an engineer on, whether or not there's any current movement or whether it's still going to continue to happen. A little bit of wood deterioration on some of the siding. Looks like that's been marked by somebody else for a replacement. A lot of the screens around the structure also have some dings and dents. They're kind of bent, and that you could just replace those frames. I think that'd be the easiest way to address it. We're missing the electrical cover plate. You can see that the sprinkler system is obviously installed out here. We're also missing the screen on this window right there. So this is going up on the roof. You can see we have a dimensional composition shingle with woven valleys. The gutters are in need of some cleaning. They've got a little bit of debris on the roof, and you know, for fire safety, you definitely want to keep your debris, or keep the roof clear of all debris. There is some voids around some of the plumbing vents, and that will allow some moisture intrusion to get in. It looks like the seal has just dried up and cracked and kind of broken. That needs to be swapped out. And then there's some old abandoned solar, and I would just take that off and dispose of it. It's not being utilized right now. So at least it has gable vents over here. That's going to help the attic space to breathe good. You can see it's got a little bit of wear and tear. You know, some of the shingles missing a little bit of aggregate. It looks like it's holding up pretty decent. Probably around 20 years old. I'm just kind of guessing at that. But the debris over here on the side should also be cleaned off. This is where the chimneys, the flashings are gapped. You can see that some of the flashings aren't really counter flashed, or possibly just kind of as the chimney's shifting, it's creating a void at some of those flashings, kind of pulling them loose. You see these gutters really need to be cleaned up. We do have some surface rust on some of the flashings. There's also some damage on one of the chimneys over here. Now one of these chimneys is abandoned because it only has one coming up, but we are missing a spark arrestor. I think that this one here is the abandoned one. And then this is that soffit, you know, that's just kind of starting to rot out. You can see it's starting to deteriorate a little bit right there. You could probably carve that out and install some trim. There's also some wood deterioration on some of the siding up here on the back side of this chimney. You can see that's really starting to break down. So pretty easy to replace that sheet of siding up here. You can see a lot of the other flashings have been taped up. That should keep everything watertight. Looks like that one kind of deteriorated and broke a little bit, but that metal tape should do the trick on at least keeping everything dry, keep that water from coming down in between things. So that's around the upper section. Now, as we come down the stairs, the air conditioner, I was unable to get the condenser to turn on. I did check the breakers. I did try it a couple times, and wasn't getting it to spin. So something seems to be wrong with the air conditioning condenser. It'd be best to have an HVAC guy come out and take a look at it. This is the electrical panel. One of the breakers here is a little bit loose, and that should be addressed by an electrician. We're also missing a couple of knockouts. It does appear to be labeled. It's missing some labeling down here. You see breaker 20 and 21, and it's not labeled. So it is in need of a little bit of additional labeling. It has a small electric water heater. This is primarily for the kitchen. And the kitchen hot and cold is reversed. It looks like there's been, or probably with some previous water problems over here. I see evidence of sheetrock repair down here. In the half bath, I see at the vinyl some discoloration, and then on the outside of the bathroom, right here, there's some discoloration on the baseboard, indicating that you know, things had gotten wet at one point in time. It's possible maybe the toilet had froze or broke, or started leaking for some reason. I don't see any leaking right now currently. There's just some cosmetic blemishes at the door. You can see some of the paint's kind of peeling off of it. The system here is completely abandoned. You can see it's not even screwed onto the wall. That's the central vac system. This is the water heater. It is missing a dielectric coupler. You can see that we're getting a little bit of electrolysis causing some corrosion up around the fitting. It's supposed to look like this one right here. It also has a timer installed, so that's kind of nice. You don't have to run the water heater all the time. So this is the on-demand system that's currently, sorry, not on-demand, but the vacuum system that's currently not working. Now bear with me while I crawl in the sub area. It's a little bit hard to get into. So this is underneath the structure. There is quite a bit of rot coming into the subflooring and the rim joists. And we're seeing that up top here. Definitely some subfloor needs to be removed, rim joists removed and replaced from the rot damage. In the back, we're seeing some termite activity. We're not completing a pest report today, so we'll just be notifying the on the home inspection report. But there is some damage to some of the rim joists over here on this side, and then over here in the back, it looks like there's some powder post beetle damage, subterranean termite damage, and dry rot, kind of a whole gambit of things happening, and that's on this back corner. And so you can see it's pretty obvious. Let me get a light on there real good. But you can see that that's really setting into that subfloor and causing some rot, and that kind of continues over. You can see where there's some subterranean termite damage over here on the edge. It looks like also powder post beetles as well. So as you get down, it gets a little bit better as far as the rim joist goes. There is quite a bit of leaking at the shower stall. It did unfortunately fail a shower pan test. So what we do is we fill the shower pan up within 1 inch of the shower dam, and then we let it sit for 10 minutes before dropping it. And when we did that, you'll notice all this water down below, and it was dripping off of the majority of the wood members. I don't want to fill it back up for the sake of the video, because we don't want to be adding moisture to the subflooring that could potentially do damage. So I'm not gonna fill that up. If you guys want to do that, basically just plug up that shower and then you can test it. We got a lot of circuits right here on the side going into one single junction box, and it is currently overloaded. I'm going to be recommending an electrician review that. This is where the vacuum system has been cut off and disconnected. I got to get back out, hopefully without ripping my pants. Okay. And then we'll go through the upstairs. Now from a safety standpoint, it'd be best to have a railing installed just so nobody could take a header off the side there. There's some areas where the sheetrock has been previously patched back together. In the laundry area, we have a little bit of a void here at the seams. Toilet is currently leaking, so when I flushed it, it has some water running down around the bowl and kind of running down a little bit of an angle. Some of the floors are a little bit sloped. That's something I didn't mention when I was over there by the French doors talking about the addition. There's also a little bit of slopage over here in the hallway. It's not too noticeable though. This bedroom, I don't think that it has much for me to add.
Missing screen.
It has the breaker over here, another sub panel installed. I already mentioned missing screen when I went up that ladder. Currently the security system is disconnected, and so you could probably get that hooked back up. I see multiple things that are probably portions of that. We've got some electrical coming out of the electrical box. That should be reviewed by an electrician. We also have a loose electrical box over here on the side. So I already mentioned the hot and cold was reversed. There is a void between the sink and the countertop that needs to be sealed and maintained so we don't have moisture leaking. Now in regards to moisture leaking, currently the garbage disposal is leaking. And so that looks like that's created a lot of moisture over time. You can see some mildew marks over here on the back of the cabinet or at the sheetrock. Wouldn't be a bad idea to do an air test on the property. If you guys are interested in that, give us a call. We can come out here and probably get results. If we had to rush them, they would take a couple days. Typically it takes about 4 to 5 days to get the results back on that. It does have all of the GFI protected outlets in here. There's a small section of the seal here that's just kind of cracked, bunched up, in need of replacement. The electrical around this light fixture could be adjusted a little bit. And then this is the chimney. You can see it is sloping towards the right. We also have the cracks, the sheetrock. I didn't mention that when I was down below, but you'll also, from underneath this area, if you look up, you'll see some cracks at the ceiling. Pretty good voids where some of the trim has kind of come loose. The attic space, not really too much to add, just some evidence of previous leakage. It has blown in insulation. And then that kind of brings us back to this back room. We already talked about the attic space that was inaccessible. If you guys have any questions when you get this or when you read the report, give us a call. Phone number is 209-768-2478. If you do decide that you need a pest inspection, then you can also give us a call on that too. If you have any questions, like I said, call us. Bye.